Hi, I'm the Pine,
And I'm the water, and you're listening to A Cup of Tea,
a podcast about exploring life through each other's eyes.
while sharing a cup of tea with you.
And today we are drinking the blueberry rooibos.
Yeah, rooibos.
And as we said, this time we're trying it with milk.
Yes.
And it's nice.
I haven't actually tried it. It's very foamy, which
That's
I
the
was not
coconut
expecting.
milk.
Yeah.
What can I tell you?
I keep getting disappointed every week
Well, because
by
I'm
the
not
lack
doing
of
almond
almond
milk.
milk. I see. But you know what? It's actually quite nice with
Coconut?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I don't dislike it.
Good. I am glad. I do sometimes miss the almond milk, I'll say.
You should get one box of almond milk per however many
2 of coconut.
Yeah.
I know, but I feel like last time I did that, the almond milk went bad because I didn't use it as much. And that's why I stopped.
Sad.
Yeah. Maybe I can find a smaller one.
It does take a long ass time, I feel, for whatever nut plant-based milk to go bad.
Maybe I instead of getting like the big carton, I can find a smaller. That could.
Yes.
Very well.
So, if you listened to our episode last week, you would know that we decided to do a running challenge. Inspired by Andrew Huberman, and this other YouTuber girl that I found that I now remember her name. She's Kelty O'Connor. And
your spirit animal?
Yeah, she is. Totally is. Because I don't know if I think I posted it on the story. That she has so much running gear, like she has an Apple Watch and she has an Oura Ring, and so she measures everything, and she's a geek and loves to find out her stats and whatever. And I was like, I know, I love it too. It's my thing too. So yeah, I like her.
So how did it go for you this week?
I haven't done it today, but it was a lot better than I thought.
Did you do it last Wednesday?
No.
So you had to do it today.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't do it on Monday though.
So you missed the
one
day.
Yeah, I missed.
Why didn't you do it?
Because my feet hurt so bad from wearing heels all day and walking downtown.
Oh, I see.
So I was like, walking in heels counts as running. So
that's hilarious.
So yeah, that's when I didn't do it. But the first day, so I was very surprised at how fast I was. I mean, I was not. It was not like those people that are like a 10-minute mile, blah blah blah. No. But I did manage to get from the residence to a supermarket that is close by. And which I guess usually takes me like 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how fast
on your pace.
Yeah. But then I managed to get there, go around the block, and then come back in those 10 minutes. And I was like, huh, look at that. And it did feel, easier than I thought it was going to be. I was in some pain though, because and that was the first thing that I sort of corrected. And I was thinking of those things you were saying about learning how to do it and having the theory kind of, because my shins were hurting so bad, like massive shin splints that I was like, what the fuck? Which I've gotten before. If I use a treadmill at the gym for like fast walking, I have that sometimes, but I can sort of manage it. It had never happened to me when dancing, for example, which I know is a thing for a lot of people. So yeah, I was like going around the block, and I was like, man, no, this is horrible. Like, I need to actually stop, stretch a little bit, and then keep going. And because I also ended up doing more time that first day. And then I actually know that I remember I stopped doing the stories.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't do a story yesterday. But anyway, so I did the shin splint thing, and then that night I actually went into the supermarket and then I walked back home. And I looked it up online because I was wondering, I had heard before that there's a difference between how, in general, this person was saying that men run with their heels, like landing with their heels, and women, there was like a correlation because women don't use their heels so much. It was more like a 4 foot landing sort of thing, which then led to more injury. That's what this person was saying. It's not true as far as I know. It's just sort of a misconception that this person had. And I think he was saying, yeah, so you should land on your heel because that's better. If you're running with runners, that's what they're made for, and la la la. And so I Googled it and I found this guy. So, my research was YouTube. So, that is, I will say that as a disclaimer. But I did find this guy who is like a Swedish runner who is also pretty much a nerd and does a lot of investigation and testing of different running things. And he was saying that there's, differences between running with with runners, and with landing with your heel, with your 4 foot, or with the middle of your foot. And then there's a difference with running barefoot too. Oh. Which I was not going to do. I was not going to run barefoot.
I was like, why?
No. But, I know it's a trend that people are doing now, but I'm not into that. Not for, when you're just starting. But anyway, so he said that you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can land with with your toes, or you can land with your heel, and whatever works best for you is what you should be doing. So the next day I switched to just front foot landing, and it was so much better. The thing he explained was, how people say that their knees get screwed up by running? Yeah, because if you're landing with your heel, the impact goes directly to your knee. Oh. If you land with your toes, then you sort of cushion it with your ankle, and then a little bit with your knee too. But it's like lowering the impact area. And I guess it's just more comfortable for me to do it with my toes because that's kind of what I've been doing forever with dancing. Yeah. And I did my calves the next day. Were like, oh my God, wow. I hadn't felt them in a very long time. So yeah, that was a cool thing I learned during the first couple of days. And then the next of it was pretty smooth sailing. I did sort of go into my my phone, like the health thing, and to look at to compare stride length and the pace and all those things. And I did notice that. So the first day I did it at night, and it went really well. I did more time than planned. And then the next day, I was slower, but also my cadence was better. And then the third day, I feel like I was slower than the second. And those 2 days, I ran more in the morning. And so I was wondering, is there a correlation between what time I'm doing it and how fast or how good or whatever I am? And I also did another little experiment of doing it with music versus doing it with a podcast. Why is my mouth here? I just
and how did that go?
And I do think the best times are the night time, because I'm just used to exercising more at night, like with dance classes and forever. And also, there's this thing of using music to sort of help you maintain a steady pace. If you have a certain BPM, a certain BPM set of songs. So it helps you with, being faster or whatever. But I actually got better with with podcasts than with music. Unless I was, which I did try a couple times, trying to at the end sprint. And then if I put on a song and that, then yeah, it's easier to sprint with the song. Yeah. How about you?
Well. Okay, so the first couple of times. So the first day, I did the bike for, I think, 15 minutes. Yeah. And that was really nice. I do like it. I am very intrigued about, like, actually going on a bike ride. Because I did it, like, in a stationary bike at the gym. But still, like, even that, it was very nice. And I get to this sort of, like, moment of, like, I go easy and steady. And then I get a moment of, like, I just want to, like, push the energy out. And I go really hard for, like, a couple of minutes. And that feels really good. Yeah. So that's something I really enjoy. First day, very nice. Second day, I was like, I was stretching, like, warming up a little bit before starting. And I looked over and I saw the walking...
The treadmill?
The treadmill. Yes, the treadmill. And I was like, let's try. Let's see. So I did. And I was doing one of those, like, programs that come in the thing. Yeah. Like, very easy. So it was too easy. And I was like, I want to get to that moment of, like, release of energy. So I, like, upped the level, but I went too far. Still, I could hold my fast pace for, like, a minute. And I was like, we're done. So I pushed it down. And I think I ended up doing maybe, I don't remember if it was 5 minutes or 10 minutes on the treadmill. But then I was like, I didn't get what I wanted from the treadmill. So I went to the bike for 5 minutes, I think. For 5 or 10, whatever I needed. Yeah. And that was nice. I was on the bike. So I think I like the bike. Yeah. But then day 3, I was very tired. Not workout tired, just, like, from my day. And then there's the other thing, but hold on. So I was like, I don't feel like going to the gym right now. And I was like, okay, there's like a 10-minute walk from the train station to my apartment. So I was like, what if I just run from here to the apartment?
Yeah, which I found very amusing when you had that idea.
Well, it was either that or going to the gym. So I was like, no, let's just do this. So I started, like, running a little bit. Yeah. And I was like, let's see if I can get the energy thing. So I started running really fast. I was like, I'll just do 2 minutes. I didn't make it to the 2 minutes. I made it to 1 minute. And I started having the like...
Oh, the pain thing?
Yeah. Did we figure out what to call it in English? Is it like being winded? Or am I making that up?
I said being winded, but I don't know if that is accurate, actually.
Well, so I think, like, in my brain, that's kind of what people call it in English. But yeah, I got that thing. And I was like, So then I went slowlier to my house. I was like, I'm just going to count this as my thing for today. And then the next day I was at work. If you can hear that, that's Safita running around. Yeah. She's cray a little. She's got the zoomies earlier than she usually has them. Oh, hi. Hello.
I mean, we are also recording earlier than we usually are.
Are you coming to work? No? You got better things to do?
Yeah. Of course. She's busier.
Well, I see that.
Today. It's a hectic day.
Yeah, apparently. So the next day I was at work and the awfulness of cramps started to happen. And this is where I was like, we can talk about this. Yes. So long story short, before we get into the matter of things, I got my period. And when I get my period, it's a horrible event. It's it usually
it is a national disaster.
It is usually the first 2 days. It's the heaviest days, and my cramps are the worst. So like I tried to put myself on bed rest for those days because it's awful. It's horrible. My insides are trying to kill me. Safita, don't try to kill her toe.
Yeah, please.
It was a very good description, very good physical representation of what I'm saying. So awful. And I was like, I'm just not going to do it. Because I know that when we talked about this last week, I was like, I need this to be like, I just have to do it. There's no like, oh, if you don't do it, you get this thing.
You were the one that was like, no, there's no escaping.
Yeah. Like, you just have to do it. And that worked for the first 3 days. But then with my period, I was like, I just, no. Like, there's no. And I once asked Tammy, my friend who is a physiotherapist, and she's like very into the gym and fitness and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I asked her, like, is it bad to work out when you're on your period? And she was like, not necessarily. Like, it really depends on yourself. And I was like, all right. Well, I don't particularly subscribe to working out during my period. Even yoga. Sometimes I will do yoga on my period, but like restorative kind of things. Because it just like, it like throws me on the ground, like holding myself.
I find it so funny because the yoga thing, for example, I remember this thing that my favorite yoga teacher used to say, that if you were in a class with her, she would always, whenever you're doing, I don't know if you call them in English too, like inversions, but whenever you're like doing a handstand or whatever thing where you're upside down, she was like, if you're on your period, you don't do this, you do a whatever variation.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing something of that.
Yeah. Because of the flow of energy and whatever. I don't know where that's what she said. Like, because your body's trying to get something to go downward. So if you go like upside down, you're going against the flow of your body or something like that.
I wonder if there's anything to it.
Which I'm like,
maybe not in that like energy kind of way, but I wonder if there is something to it.
I mean, maybe. I guess at the end of the day, if it's gonna come down, I mean, gravity. You know?
I know. Like, of course, your body's gonna push it out.
Yeah.
Even if you're upside down.
Yes, but anyway.
But yeah. So horrible. I was like, I'm not gonna do it. But I will say, like, I'm not gonna just give up on the challenge.
Yes.
As soon as I'm done bleeding, I will start a new week. Death. And I'm going to aim to do the week. And if for some reason I don't do it, I'm just going to start over a new week. You know, like, I'm going to do it until I do a week. But so putting that challenge thing aside, I don't know if it was just, I think so. Was it just now when I told you like, oh, I got my period, I'm not going to do it. And or maybe it was before, or it's an ongoing conversation you and me have had of like how my period is horrible. And then you're like, I don't get it. Because mine is like, whatever. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is an ongoing conversation. It's not the first time we've talked about it. Or the second. I'm sure it won't be the last. But I do find it very interesting because, I mean, you're not the only friend that I have who has said something along the lines of, I'm dying, whenever they're on their period. But I've, like, my experience is always like, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's just...
Excuse me.
It's just a matter of even remembering, you know? Because, like, I have it on my phone or my watch would be like, your period starts in a week or whatever. And I'm like, oh, right. And then I have to watch out and, like, you know,
be prepared.
Be prepared, yeah. But yeah, that's about it. Like, it's a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Well, how long does it last?
Well, it varies. And we can actually get more into it because I found the interesting thing that we were talking about the other day. Nowadays it lasts like 5 days. Sometimes 7, but very rarely.
And do you have like a couple of days that are like stronger?
Yeah.
Are they stronger because of your flow or because you feel it strong? Like what makes them stand out? No cramps whatsoever.
No.
Headaches?
No.
Your back hurts?
No.
Any symptoms?
The acne thing, for example.
Okay. I get that too.
Okay. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, set it and forget it. The first few days tend to be the heaviest. And then it's like trickling down. Or if I don't know what that's about, but if I get one of those weird 7-day ones, it starts very slow. And then it's like, you know, the Shining scene where the gates, like you can see the blood thing. Yeah, kind of like that. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes. And so the symptoms are acne. I think
like you just get like a pimple.
Yeah. Like in the lower half of my face. Yes. For some weird reason. And what we discovered recently, because this did not happen 4 years ago, I want to say. Having diarrhea.
What the fuck?
Like, I'm guessing. It's like the whole process of moving shit around. Literally. But no, and did you find that video that I told you about, that this comedian girl, she's a British comedian that plays herself, like she's herself and she plays her brain, her stomach, her,
I know what you're talking about,
whatever.
But I didn't watch it. But I know what you're talking about.
And it made me laugh, so I'm gonna find it and put it somewhere in the video version because you were listening to us. Well, too bad, sorry. Go watch the video. So she has this reel where she's I think it's a butthole reception, and poop comes in, and the poop says, "Oh, I'm just gonna hang here for a while," and the butthole manager is like, "Sure, come in, go to your room or whatever," because it's like a hotel, and she also has the vagina hotel, which is hilarious. So then that happens, and we cut to the vagina hotel, and the period comes in, and she's a mean bitch. She's like, "So hello, I am back," and the vagina hotel's like, "Oh God, welcome, go to your room. Here's your place." Blah, blah. And the butthole is like, "Emergency exit! You have to get out now, go!" And so she's like, I don't know how she does it, but she runs out of the room.
I see.
So it's like, that's like a literal depiction of what happens. It's just hilarious.
But it's so weird because I didn't know, if you told me even a year ago that was a symptom, I was like, no. Yeah. It's just like cramps and headache and the pimples but not diarrhea. But now it's happened. For the past few times, the past few months, I was like, wait, what? Why? It's not horrible enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it is. There's not, sometimes, very rarely I get a cramp. Very rarely. Or I guess bloating may be the other symptom that I usually log on my thing. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wow. Well, also, okay, so before, when I was younger, I was on the pill for forever because it was my mom's trick for helping my acne. So I started on the pill very early. I was 17 or something, but it was for acne reasons.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It totally cleared my acne, which I'm not saying that's the thing to do because it depends a lot. Like for some people, it gives them acne. For some people, it clears their skin. In my case, it cleared my skin. And that was magnificent. And it also made me regular because if I don't take the pill, I'm not very regular. Although I think now I kind of am. That's interesting.
That's also an interesting development too.
I'm just noticing that because I used to whenever I was not on the pill, I would have my period every 2 or 3 months, and it would last like 7 days. And I didn't used to have horrible cramps like now, even though I was on the pill like on and off for like years.
Yeah,
it wasn't horrible. It's now that I haven't been on the pill for like 3 years that I get horrible cramps and like my period. It used to be when I was on the pill, I would have the 7 days and it would start like the first day, it was just like spotting, and the second day it'd be like, oh, it's happening. And then 3 and 4 would be like the heavy days.
Yeah.
And then 5, 6, 7, sometimes 8 would be a lot of spotting. But it wasn't a horrible experience, But now I've been having it almost every month. I am getting more regular, which is interesting. I hadn't thought about it until now, but it's kind of getting there. There's that. And of course, like the awful cramps that like just put me in bed rest for a week.
I just had an idea. Maybe it's not at all real, but a thought came to my head of, I don't know if anybody has studied this, but I had a period of time too where like as a kid, I would also be very irregular. And then there was a moment when I started being super regular, when I was in that situationship. So what I'm wondering is there a correlation between being in a relationship and having a regular period? I don't know. Could that be a thing?
What? I mean, maybe. It would certainly explain to some extent that I've been getting more regular now since I've been with Pablo for like 4 years almost. So, but still, like it took a while. It wasn't instant, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. That is very interesting.
Because like that happened to me at that time, and then now again it's also kind of irregular. So I'm
like you're just off for a few days, or is there months where you don't even get a period?
There's months I feel like when I haven't paid much attention lately.
Throwing it in my face.
It's not on purpose. It's just how it goes. Maybe if I had to guess a number, I guess between like 30 and 45 days.
Wow.
I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like 2023 has been my most regular year without the pill. Interesting. I'm so intrigued by this.
Doesn't sound nice though. I wouldn't want to be regular.
Well,
sounds kind of annoying.
Well, I mean, in a way, but also it's nice because you can be prepared.
Predictable, yeah, I get it.
If you're so irregular, like I used to be, then it kind of like hits you out of nowhere.
Yeah, that does suck. Especially in.
So wait, you also don't get emotional?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to measure it.
Okay.
Because I don't know how much is sort of confirmation bias or being predisposed.
Okay.
There have been a couple times when I have sort of caught myself feeling a little bit more emotional, and then I have my period and I'm like, is it because of that? So maybe. Maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I do remember the one time that it was absolutely hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
I was like way younger. I was like I got my period super early. I was in like 4th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But this was probably around 12, 13, 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I was super emotional to the point where like I went into my room and the wind shut down the door behind me and it made me cry.
What?
It felt very personal. it's so like baffling sometimes how like the stupidest shit will make you feel bad when you're PMSing. It's hilarious to a point, but it's also very annoying. Because either I feel like when I was younger, it was more of being cheapy or like wanting to cry, kind of. How would you describe cheapy?
I don't know, like I am sensitive, but it's like I don't know.
I know, it's such an interesting word of Spanish, of Mexican language. But yeah, so like what I mean is that I would feel like very sensitive, like I want to cry all the time, and I just want someone to hug me. You know, and then maybe growing up a little bit, it's been a little more of like I can be aware that I am more irritable, which has also been interesting. But yeah, I definitely get maybe not so much lately, now that I think about it. But before, yeah, it was very noticeable for me that I was PMS. Like I was super sensitive. I was like, don't say anything to me because I'm on my period because I will cry. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I have a similar story to that. Because my recollection of the first times or the first years of having my period were the first time that it happens. I kind of remember the moment and being super freaked out and being like, what is happening? Like I knew what it was.
Okay.
But I was like, oh shit, it's like it's real. It's happening. Oh my god. You know?
You know what's crazy? I know that when it happened to my mom, she didn't know what it was.
Really?
Yeah. It freaked the fuck out of her.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to tell her mom because she thought she did something wrong. That's so horrible.
It is. That sounds, man. I mean, there's another, like, on the opposite side of that. I remember as a kid, I don't know, 6-year-old, 7-year-old or something, my grandma, being a doctor, would be like, yeah, when you're older, you're gonna, I don't know how she said it, but like, you're gonna bleed, but that means that you're, like, she would explain it in a very child, appropriate way.
Okay.
I don't know whether I would say appropriate, but in a way that made it simple to understand. Okay. And I remember asking, so does it hurt? And she was like, no, it doesn't.
Well.
I mean, it's not the same as cutting your hand and like, you know, that
it is not the same
feeling of bleeding. You're like,
it's a different pain.
Yeah. I don't know if it compares to guys being kicked in the balls. I've heard people say that it does. It's comparable.
Well, okay.
In a less,
maybe.
I mean, maybe that is a very acute and short, kind of pain, where maybe cramps can be more like like pulsing or like a steady dull
mine
pain,
are steady.
or horrible. Yeah. But anyway.
But have you seen those like machines thingies
like
that like
pregnancy
that make
birth,
guys understand what cramps are?
Yeah. Yeah. Like the Try Guys did a pregnancy or motherhood trying video series or something where they had several videos, and one was of them feeling the pain of giving birth. And I don't know if I remember this correctly, but I feel like one of them passed out.
I wonder where they feel it.
I mean, they put the electrodes in the same sort of area.
But it's not like so they wouldn't feel like the vagina stretching, opening.
I mean, no, because they don't.
That's what I'm like. Where do they feel it? So they just feel like sort of like the cramp situation?
No, I do think that they place the electrodes on wherever it is most similar. Because to a point, the vagina and like whatever, like male genitals and female come from the same structure. So there has to be like an overlapping point, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I find
wherever
it very
that is. I don't know where we were going with this at all. I totally lost it.
Well, your grandma explained.
Oh right, yes. So she explained it to me, and I knew that it was going to happen, since I was a small child. And then of course in elementary school and in middle school, this happened in elementary. And I do remember that I was not the first girl in my class. There was this other one that was like, no, she was a woman. Because I mean, she did have big boobs when we were 11.
Yeah.
And so
that's a hardship on its own. But continue.
So I knew that I was not the first one. And then I feel like I've told this story here. Maybe not here. Maybe it was in some other one of the things that we do or on politics. Or just with my friends, I guess. But no. I remember I told this in like a sort of truth or dare game that we were playing at some point. I don't know if you were there. Maybe.
What is it?
I think you were. So I was in, what is it? 7th grade? Yeah, I was in 7th grade. And I was in my school. We had, of course, the uniforms and stuff. But instead of having sweats for the sports uniform, I had, because it was an all-girl school, it was a white skirt with white shorts. And it was like one of those like wraparound skirts, so you would take it off to go do the sport, whatever. And I don't know if I didn't know that I was getting my period or if I already knew. I don't know what the situation was, but what I do remember is this. I got up from my chair because I guess I must have known. I must have been wearing a pad or something, which I hate, by the way, but we can get into that. And I felt, those times when you can totally feel like you are, I don't know, overflowing or whatever. And you get a stain. Like you know that you've stained your pants. Oh, yes. For sure.
It's such a scary feeling.
It is. And so I think I got up and the class was ending or something. But I put my sweater on my waist.
And everybody in school knew why you had your sweater like that.
Yes. Of course. So, anyway, so I put my sweater down and I go out and I was running because the whatever happened, like the class changing and the horribleness of the feeling, because when you're 12, getting a stain on your pants or skirt or whatever is the end of the world. Is the worst thing that could happen. It's like everybody knows. It's so embarrassing, which at the same time is so stupid.
I know.
Like if it happened now, I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so at the time, no, it isn't. It's the end of the world. You're dying. You're like, oh my God, why me? Why? So I ran down the stairs, and this was sort of like a courtyard. It's like colonial style building that school was. So it was a square building with 2 staircases that went down to a fountain, and then you went straight to, like, on the off the side of the fountain there was a bathroom. So I had to run downstairs, go around the fountain, go to the bathroom, come back. But I fell down the stairs, very telenovela style, and I don't know if I did tumble or something, but whatever.
Wow.
But I ended up like face down, butt in the air, where everybody could see the huge. I mean, probably wasn't that huge ass stain on my butt, and I was like, and everybody at that point, everybody was out of the classroom because they were changing classes. So everybody, I could feel like everybody was looking at me and laughing, And so I just sprinted to the bathroom.
No.
And I don't know if I had a pad or if I asked somebody, I don't know. And like changing, washing the skirt, putting it on again, like going back, getting my stuff. I was mortified.
I bet.
It was, that's a great story to tell, but
I appreciate it.
But I mean, in the moment, I was dying for sure. So those are the fond memories.
I know, right? So anyways, we were talking about this, about the hardships of being women. But wait, before we get to that, just a quick little comment, because I've been reading the Philosophy for Girls book that I read the other day. And something very beautiful, very interesting has been happening. Because in this book, the plural, the general, is feminine.
It's in English, right? Yeah.
Yes. So when they say the student, it's a her. But it's not necessarily a female student.
Yeah.
Just like, how in Spanish the general is male? In this book, they're purposefully making the general female.
But how does it work in English?
Well, it's just like, oh, the professor, blah, 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 blah. Because it's not a name. They just like, the professor, whatever happens, blah, blah, blah. She did, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't read like that professor is necessarily a woman. Like, it just, like, instead of saying he, they say she or they say her. The way, I don't know if this is stupid of me of saying it, but the way you call a ship her, they're doing the same thing with like the student, the teacher, the whatever.
Okay.
And when I noticed it, I was like, it was very nice.
It sounds very trippy.
I'll see if I can find it.
And it's reminding me a little bit of the, I don't know what book it is. I think it's a Toni Morrison book. Well, I mean, not book, or I don't know, that somebody recommended to me, that has no adjectives and maybe no pronouns. I'm not sure. But the whole concept of it is that whatever you read into it is because of your own bias.
That's
so if you think whatever character is black or white or whatever, it's because of what you attribute to them rather than what the story says they are. So I found that very interesting.
That is very interesting, I think. But yeah, it was just so refreshing. Because like when the whole pronouns thing was happening in Mexico and it was like the using E for plural for like both genders or whatever.
Yeah.
And people being like, no. The Academia Española says that the general is that the non-gendered is a male.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, I didn't have a problem with the male Spanish thing. But then when I read this, it was see, okay, so it might be, though, that a person's views are coherent but based on false views about the world. For example, imagine a person holds a completely coherent set of values and motivations based on the belief that she can fly. the person is she.
I see.
And they do that with anything.
Huh.
And it was very nice. It was very interesting. And I was like, and this made me think of when you and I were talking about how the Politics boys were talking about Encanto and Red and things like that. And you and I were like, I don't think you guys have necessarily that capacity to see yourself in a female character.
Yeah.
And I feel like us, even though we're females or like minorities in general, maybe have more flexibility or the skill to see ourselves in characters that don't necessarily look like us. So like for me, growing up, even though I'm like a tomboy and everything and all of that stuff that we've already said in a previous episode, like I can see myself in a lot of male characters, right? And I can also see myself in female characters.
Yeah.
But I feel like male or man, I don't know, they haven't had that opportunity as much.
Or maybe haven't been exposed to it enough.
Yeah.
So that it's also a thing for them.
Exactly. I was like, what if this was a thing of like this book, Philosophy for Girls, how like a person is a she without being a woman? What if everything was like that instead of being he? And I feel like there would be a lot of like, how dare you? Why would you do that? But no.
I find it very funny. Because the first time I sort of encountered this thing was reading about when I first got my dog, and I was reading books about how to raise a puppy and that kind of thing. And they would refer to puppy as a she. No matter what the actual, no
matter the sex of the puppy.
Yeah. And so I was like, why? Why are they doing that?
Why would they call it a he?
That trips me up. No, I didn't think of a he. I thought of an it.
Because it's not an it. How dare you?
I know, but that was my whole like sort of trip with English. Having, I mean, in school you learn that you refer to animals as it.
Yeah.
So I would think on the same line of I would call a dog an it. I mean, if I talk specifically about my dog, I will say he, whatever. But
if you talk about Tafito, you'll say she.
Exactly. But if you talk about a general dog, I would say it. A general imaginary dog. In the same way that if I talk about a general imaginary person in English, I would say them.
Really?
Yeah. And I understand that it's different in Spanish, though, because saying person, like the noun.
Persona.
Yeah, is a female noun. So you would say la persona. As in, like, she, the person.
I know, but I don't feel we do that in Spanish. Like, even though it is la persona, if you say, I don't know that I can think of it like right now, but I feel like even though persona is female, like you'll say, las personas fueron something, but then whenever you get to the adjective, you make it male. Because I purposefully tried to talk about las personas in a female manner, and people catch me and they're like, what? So I feel like even though it's la persona, we say persona, but then whatever we're talking about the persona, we say it in a male way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Grammatically interesting too in general, because you would have to say it in female anyway. Because persona is female. So if somebody gets tripped up that you're saying whatever adjective in a female version, seems, I don't know, very weird to me.
I'm going to look out for the next time that I think of this, that it happens to me of the persona thing, and I'm going to try to tell you about it. But anyways, so it was very, I before reading it, I always thought that I didn't care that in Spanish to just say male to refer to both. But now that I read it, even though it's in English, I really appreciated it. I didn't know I was going to appreciate it this much. And I feel like maybe I would like to start doing that and start writing in female. Not saying that everyone has to write in female, right? But maybe me as a female, I want to write in female. That sounds really funny. But it was just like a very interesting experience. I very appreciated it. It was like a moment that I had.
I see.
Yeah.
Nice.
But anyway, so this whole thing about the periods and stuff.
Indeed.
Got us talking about the hardships of women. And then I was like, we know the hardships of women. Even though like your experience of period is so different from my experience of period.
Yeah.
I was like, we don't really know or understand the hardships of men. But I'm also intrigued because I was like, we talk about a lot about the female experience because we are female. But that doesn't mean that there's no hardships to being male.
A man, yeah.
Yeah. Or a man. Either, both. I don't know. So I was very curious. And we tried asking the man in our lives.
Yeah. Quick poll. Yesterday night.
I know. What was some of the hardships of being man or male?
Yeah.
So, did you get any answers?
I did, and I have to sort of like make a note of saying that when I was asking this question, I had to specify, I think, or sort of give them a clue of the kind of answer that I was looking for. Because the first response that I got maybe wasn't exactly what we were imagining. So I'm going to try and find the answers that I got. Because so the first time I asked the question, I said, do you think, okay. Is there something that you have found as a difficulty in life for being a man? And they started laughing. I was like, oh my God. And the first thing was demanding the type of stuff of, do this because you're stronger.
I appreciate that. I understand.
That was the first one. And then he said, always having to be the lead role in the whole courtship situation.
We figured that would be one.
That's my first answer. And then another friend said being very, I don't know how to describe it, but he said the constant judgment and laughing at the gender. It is socially accepted to take down a man and laugh, but it'd be unthinkable to do it to a woman. And it doesn't matter. I don't know. There's no specific example, but it doesn't matter their context or the problems that they are facing. There's less consideration because you're a man. It's part of, from both men and women. There's a trivialization of masculinity. Everybody talks about it like they know what they're talking about, and they say it's toxic as if it were something inherent to the condition of being a man. Like, if being a man meant that you're inherently
evil,
like you have toxic masculinity. Yeah.
I do think that there is a lot of inherent toxic masculinity, not because you are born a man, but because you are born in a system that makes you a toxic masculine person. And I also think that women are sometimes very toxic in a masculine way.
Yeah, I do.
But that's because of the system. That's not because you are a man. You're just more of a victim of it, which also means that you have more responsibility to work through it and get out of that.
Yeah. And I don't think we talk about it in the same way of a toxic masculinity, but I do think there's a toxic femininity aspect, which, I mean, it's not as in the like beauty standard sort of way.
What's the toxic femininity then?
But I feel like it's having to, I don't know, maybe I'm just sort of, it doesn't make sense, but I feel like there's this concept of having to behave a certain way to be girlier or I don't know. The thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about this was all those books like the
Men
how
come
men
from Mars and women come from Venus
exactly
thing.
Or why men love bitches or
Ugh.
those kind of things that are like, don't be a doormat, which is like, don't be overly nice, don't give away too much, don't you know what I mean? And like, be a bitch, be tough, make them beg for what they want.
Yeah, I see that.
Which I'm like, what the actual fuck?
See, that's the system thing. So like, men need to be this way and women need to be this way, and here's a guide and here's a set of rules and here's a that we got fed.
Exactly.
But you know what? I get, not to toot our horn, but the things that I have seen that toxic femininity in older women.
Yeah.
Like in like my brother's, one of his girlfriends that he's had at some point. Sometimes my mom is like that. Like, she has this love of her life that they have never made it work because they're stupid. Sorry, Mom. They're emotionally unavailable for each other, which is the stupid thing. They're not stupid themselves. I'll clarify. But my mom sometimes gets stuck in this thing of, he has to call me. I can't tell him that I miss him. And I'm just like, seriously, you guys have been in love since like more than my life. I am 27. They've been in love since, I don't know, 30 years ago. They haven't made it work because they're both so stuck in their ways. And I'm like, you guys are just going to keep wasting life, keep wasting time. Because you have to be this man thing and you have to be this woman thing. Yeah. It's so sad. But anyways, that was not my point. I'm sorry. But it is so sad. So like, annoying. Yeah.
And you know, upon doing research for this topic, I found this video, one of those big think videos, and it's this author. I don't have his name, but he started the video by saying that when he wrote his book about the problems that men and children, well, I mean boys have, many people warned him against it because they were like, "Why are you taking away from the dialogue of equality?" Women. Yeah, but it was like, why are you taking on this equality landscape? Why do you want to take up more room for men when there's already so much? And he said this thing that I found very cute and very true of like, because you shouldn't be thinking about it in a term of there's only this much space and it's a fight for whoever can take up the most. It's about expanding it. And like adding to the space that you already have. So I thought that was really cute. And he started by saying that in this path, at least in the US, of more equality and equity for everybody, that women, it has apparently, according to his research, become apparent that the education system is not made with men in mind. Like, it does not help him. It doesn't not.
I think I've seen
it. It doesn't help them succeed as much as it helps women. It's like, not that they did it on purpose.
Yeah, I think I've seen this.
Yeah, like it is designed in a way that women can take more advantage of it because they mature more sooner. So a girl in grade 12 has a more developed prefrontal cortex than a boy on grade 12 has. And so because it's just a brain development thing, then girls can get through high school or middle school easier than a boy can. And so it's a disservice to boys to have them be like that. We should hold off and enroll them in school 1 year later. And that would make them peers, not have this sort of unbalance.
I'm just curious. Like I have seen this. I have seen that, and I don't want to discredit that, because even though it might be a thing
I know what you're gonna say.
Okay, maybe. So it might be a thing that girls have a more developed prefrontal cortex right now. I wonder what really is the, like, if it's really like that is the way that we naturally develop, or it's that thing of like, because of how you raise female versus male, or maybe it's
like
how you raise
nature versus nurture.
Exactly.
Kind of,
Is the nurturing making the biology this way, or is the biology this way? You know, because I've listened to some like podcasts, read some stuff, whatever. Like, that is the extent of my research. Don't believe everything I say, right? On that matter of like, we're not that different in reality, right? So, but there are differences because of the system and the culture and the nurturing, and you know, when we did that pocket with Andy and Tammy when they were moving in with their boyfriend, and they said this thing of like, oh no, yeah, we get pushed a lot as women, because there's this, women mature faster, quicker, earlier. So then we get more responsibilities. We get pushed more. We are more on top of things, because to our men counterparts or boy counterparts, to brothers, to whatever, it's like, oh no, let him play. Like, he's a boy, whatever, you know? So just wondering. Is that the thing that you thought I was going to say?
Yeah, that is the thing. And when I was watching the video, I was very skeptical of precisely that thing of like, but is it? Why? Is it something that can be traced back to, I don't know, 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago?
Yeah.
And was it happening the same way back then? I don't know.
Well, so even if we have this on the table, I still think if right now the boys of right now are having these differences with girls, we can still hold off and put them in school 1 year later, because that's already their experience and their reality. But if, as we evolve and as we grow and as we change our systems and our standards and gender and things, if that biological difference is going to change, then we need to adapt to those changes, right? That's my only point about this. But about what you were saying on the expanding the stuff and warning the guy about things of a white looking at man, I was thinking of like, no, you know, like, it's so important, because it's this thing about how sexism and machismo is not a men versus women issue, is a system versus people issue.
Yeah.
Right. So we should look at how sexism and machismo affects men as well.
I know.
Which is what got me into all of these thoughts of like, well, we know what our struggles are, but what's their struggles? And I asked Pablo about his, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit, because I was like, so the story is that we went to watch Creed 3, and I had so much fun. And as a girl that grew up with 2 older brothers and was very tomboyish, like, I like getting very physical. And like, with my nephew, who is like as tall as I am, like, we wrestle a lot, and that's something that I enjoy. So we watched Creed, and I started punching Pablo jokingly. And at first, like, it was fine. We were just joking. But there came a point where I got very excited, and like, I was punching him harder. And it's like, I'm a girl, my punches don't hurt, I can punch you. And Pablo had to like look at me and like tell me that was not okay. And I was like, it took me a second to like really understand what he was saying. And he had to explain. And he was like, because I was like, you're a guy, like, I would think that you and your brother tumbled and wrestled and played like this as you were when you were younger. And he's like, yes, we did, and we got in trouble for it. And my parents were very clear that that was something we should not do and that we're not supposed to do, because you play and then people get hurt, feelings get hurt, you get physically sort of pumped or like not excited in a good way, but you get triggered, and then you punch harder than you're supposed to. So we were taught not to do it. As a woman, as a girl, I had never thought about sort of like holding my punches to a guy or to a girl. Like, well, the thing is that I never punched a girl. That's why I actually punched a guy. So it was never a worry of mine to control or to manage my physicality in that sense. It was always a matter of checking in my physicality in a sexual way, which is another one of the hardships of being a woman. And like, I can't just be a person. Like, everything I do is sexual, apparently.
Yeah.
And that is horrible on its own. But right now we're talking about guys. So
yes.
That's the thing that really got me off. Like, I wanna know more of what your man experience is.
We can keep reading the answers.
What else did the guy say?
They said that they don't learn to know their bodies and how they work. And more importantly, they don't teach them about women's bodies because it's too taboo.
What?
Which I was like, what?
What do you mean Well, I agree. I agree that they don't teach them about women's bodies. It's so like yucky and whatever and things. And like living with Pablo and having this relationship, a lot has been of talking a lot about like our bodies and being like, it's a body, it's okay. If it smells, if it has hair, if I bleed, if I, like, it has to be normal in our house and in our home and in our relationship for all of these things. It can't be and it shouldn't be taboo.
Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting of like, first, not knowing how their bodies work.
I'm curious about that.
I was very surprised by that answer. I'm guessing they don't know how their genitals work is the
No, that's not. No.
I don't know
for you.
I don't know why they said that.
Do you feel like you were taught, you were shown the intricacies of your male body?
I mean, we had those classes.
Had those classes like biology,
like sex ed,
like sex ed, yeah. But you got to learn about male genitalia, female genitalia, yeah.
You know, it's making me think a lot about like Big Mouth.
Oh,
actually,
Big Mouth.
Because of how, so you do have the sort of school version of biology and how whatever works, but you don't have the sort of more grown-up version, maybe, where you get the intricacies of how your body actually works, or like what happens when, I mean, maybe in school they tell you, oh yeah, and pubic hair exists, but then nobody ever explains to you like, if you want to do something with it, you know,
you want to shave,
if you want to, yeah, exactly, which is kind of where Big Mouth has the jokes.
I adore the episode where what's her face? She gets like a vaginal infection.
Oh, no,
what's her
not
face?
Lola.
Jessie?
Oh,
it's
yeah,
Jessie,
it's Jessie. It's Jessie.
I adore that episode. It makes me so happy. Just because it's such a normal thing. It's not like oh no, it's an infection. It's like, oh no.
I thought it was hilarious.
It's like the day is too hot, your underwear is too tight. Oh, that's what happens.
I thought you were gonna see the one where Lola shaves her pubes and the 2 nights die, and that was hilarious.
That was also really funny.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what they mean.
I'm curious
by that.
Please share.
Tell us. Your comments can be anonymous. You can just send us a direct message on Instagram. Okay. Then there's he said, well, I think there's dozens of biases But if we're talking about how we relate to women, I think we are not taught a lot about reciprocity. It's always we're always told that we have to give them and take care of them and respect them, but it's never said that we need to expect the same from them. It feels like a one-way street. Which is like interesting.
Okay, I'll take a step back. I don't want to invalidate that.
Yeah.
Because, okay, when I asked Pablo later, he also said that there's this expectation of being the provider. And, like, you know, if your woman, wife, fiance wants to be mantenida. What is that in English?
Housewife
kind
of thing.
Then it's on you to, like, provide for both or for the family.
Which, I mean, having sort of that not super firsthand experience of but somebody in my circle being in that kind of circumstance where he's responsible for providing for his wife. It's like, you're not just responsible for yourself in this age of being 20 something. It blows my mind that you have to think of being responsible entirely for somebody else.
Right.
And on its own. So
I mean, responsible entirely to some extent. It's not like this woman is a baby.
I mean, yeah. But economically responsible.
Yeah.
But that could be an option for you guys. It's not an option for us.
That's that's another one of the questions. The answer is
not so much. Like previous generations.
Exactly. Previous generations, no option.
Previous ladies. Yeah. Like they just could have gotten married, you know, and that was their big life decision.
Yeah.
And then they don't have to worry about getting that money.
Yeah.
Because they just tend to the house or whatever.
Well, that's exactly. That's the male part of it of like, oh, you have to be the provider, and the woman is just a housewife. But then there's also the woman of like, I kind of belong to this man, and I depend on this man for my life, and there's nothing I can do about it.
It's a fucked up arrangement.
It is. And there was actually, when I don't know why I was listening to something along the lines of that, because when women were just housewives and then they got divorced, men would have been the sole providers. So, like, they were the only ones who got money and bought stuff. And so when they divorced, it used to be a thing that women get nothing because they didn't work for anything.
So then alimony.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, no, not just alimony. It's just, if you have a house, and I mean, this doesn't exist like that in Canada, for example, with the common law concept. But if you marry somebody if you blend all your assets together and you are a housewife and your husband is the one that works, then now the law in Mexico at least establishes that for him to have been able to work and you to stay at home and raise your kids and to
that was your job.
You're also doing a job there, even though you're not getting paid. So you deserve half of that house or half of the car or half of whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Because it's just unpaid labor.
I know, exactly. Yeah. But so, yeah, I agree that is a bad arrangement, right? Is.
I do, because the next point was what Pablo was just saying, that referring to the existence of a man, economically speaking, there's just pressure. If you're not making money, then you're doing something wrong.
I remember my brother telling me at one point that he felt like men, whenever we had those conversations with our brothers, that was supposed to be an episode, he mentioned something of like, it feels like if I'm not making money or if I'm not making enough money, I'm not worth anything. Like my whole worth is how much money I make. And I was like, I hear that, but also the system did the same thing to women of like, if you're not pretty enough, you're also not worth a shit.
Yeah.
You know, so it goes both ways. Again, this is not a man versus woman issue.
Yeah. It's more like understanding which are whose sort of situation, I guess. And yeah, it's like, if you're not making any money, a woman, how do you say that in English? Like mantenida is what they're saying, which is what we were saying before.
But yeah, kind of housewife.
I mean, a housewife is something relatively common. Not that it's good or bad, but it is not a bad thing in general. It's not seen as bad. However, when there's a man, housewife, man.
A house husband.
A house husband, yeah. A stay-at-home dad, let's say, if he's a dad.
They don't have to be a dad, I guess.
It's unthinkable. And again, it goes back to gender roles.
Well, I think especially in Mexico.
Yes.
Especially in Mexico.
Yeah. And I remember, having this very nice way, sort of cultural shock one time when coming here for a dance competition. We stayed, my friends and I, we stayed at my teacher's house with, not my teacher's house, my teacher's sister's house. And the sister is married to a very lovely man who I remember he showed me how to use the laundry machine because he's the one that does the laundry in their house and he cooks for the kids. And so it's a very equitable, what's the word for that? Like parejo. What I'm trying to say. It's very egalitarian. And very 50-50. And so it's like, man, see, that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, so to wrap this up, it's like you would never see as a potential partner a man that has no economic stability, and you would see that with a woman that would be a potential good partner even if they don't have economic stability. And then he said, which I think generates economic violence in the relationship. I just thought it was an interesting comment. But yeah,
but that also applies to the girl where like she has no assets, she has no value, and so the man who has the economics, like the economic means, can decide a lot of stuff and can just do a lot of stuff. But again, I know I keep sort of kind of like defending women, but I want to listen to the guys.
Happy wife, happy life.
Well, the thing with happy wife, happy life, which Paolo and I have talked about, I do understand, because his experience of the happy wife, happy life thing that he has told me about is that it feels very, if I get this right, it feels very like, oh, just do whatever the wife wants. Like what you say, what you want, what you need, what you think, it doesn't matter. As long as the wife is happy, that's what matters.
Which, takes me a lot back to that sort of why men love bitches thing. Because in those happy wife, happy life sort of things, it's I feel like from the outside, it's like when men give up control and become powerless in their relationship to a point, because the women are so manipulative that if they don't get their way, then there's going to be trouble.
Right, yeah.
Which
toxic femininity.
Yeah, exactly.
We found it. Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. But then, okay, so yeah, that is what Paolo was telling me about the happy wife, happy life. And it is something that I appreciate because now I understand a little bit more of how he feels and how he doesn't want to feel that way in his life. And then I thought, in like our experience, I've had my inner thoughts of like the happy wife, happy life, because I'm like, if I am upset as the wife in the story, I can understand why there wouldn't be a happy life. Like, but then I was like, in my mind, it turned. I was like, it's not a happy wife, happy life thing. It's like, if your partner is unhappy, whichever of the two, then there's no happy life. Like, of course you want the wife to be happy, but it should be as much as you want the man to be happy. If we're talking about the couple where it's like a man and a woman, right? But like, it applies to any couple, throuple, whatever you are. If the people involved in the relationship, if one of them is not happy, then of course life is not happy. And that doesn't mean that you as partners are responsible for their happiness. And I think that's a little bit of how right now, what they were saying, what someone was saying about if you as a man want to be a stay-at-home dad, is like unthinkable. It's like he's lazy, he is whatever things they say to them. I think as women right now, or this is like how I can look at it, we have been on this journey of like, we were powerless, we couldn't vote, we couldn't work, we didn't have money, we were property, a bunch of shit, horrible shit. And then it's like, oh, now feminism, and we're in power, and we can vote, and we can work, and we can be independent, and we don't need a man. It's not that you should need a man, it's that you want to share your life with whomever you want to share your life with, right?
Yeah.
But I think right now, as far as my experience goes, it's a little more about like, I have come on this journey, and I don't want to be in charge of you as a man. So if you as a man or as my partner want to be like, I want to be a stay-at-home partner.
Yeah.
Well, I do agree that at first it would shock me. But depending on my partner, knowing this person, if they were like, I want to be a stay-at-home person, well, we can have a conversation about it. If I have the means, the economic means, and you will take care of the house, and you will raise the kids, and you will do so that it feels like an equal division of labor, we can talk about it.
Get that YouTube money!
You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And yeah, I had an idea, but I was looking at Pablo, and then I got distracted and I lost it. But we're just gonna wrap up because this could have been a 3-hour long episode.
Yeah, it could have been.
So I will start with my rec so that I don't forget it. And then, because I think it ties up with what you were saying about like happiness. And so I just found out I wrecked the Midnight Library in an episode like
earlier
that we were just editing recently. So my rec is re-listening or rewatching, maybe not rewatching. Yeah, sure, but re-listening or rereading old books. And just now before recording, I was reading your Making Memories book, and there was a section that I got curious about of outsourcing your memories. So I don't know, you haven't gotten to that point, but it was about sort of tying memories to specific stuff, like a song or a movie or a place or something that triggers you remembering shit.
So rewatching, re-listening.
Rewatch, re-listen, because that helps you go back in time to wherever you were when you sort of... which is, I think we've talked about that. Because I told you at some point that if I listen to an old playlist, it usually takes me back to that moment in time. And you're like, oh my God, really? And I said, yeah. So anyway, that book says the same thing. If you tie a specific memory to a thing, like a book or a song or a place, then you can go back walk down memory lane with it. So I'm doing that with the Midnight Library, and it's being very amusing. So that's my rec.
That's very interesting. Now I kind of want to try it. My rec for today has nothing to do with gender or the hardships of sex and gender. But it's the Netflix show The Sandman. I love it so much. It's so nice. It makes me very happy. I need more Sandman in my life. I can't wait for the next season, but I think it's like next year or something. But I'm like, but it's really
you could read the book.
Yeah, I should. I totally should. Yeah,
very well. You know what? On a very last note, just because on some episode that I was editing recently, you said that you noticed that Ear Biscuits did the Rex thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever told you that they're not the only ones that kind of do it. Because in the Try Guys Tripod, they have Miles. I think it's their producer. I'm not sure. He does this thing this section called Advice That Will Go for Miles with Miles.
That's cute.
And he gives a random, in general, it's like random advice. I just have this one like stuck in my brain forever about, he always makes a long, big, funny introduction. But there was one where he said, do you ever want to take a bath? And la 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 la. And then he ends up recommending to change your loofah every, I don't know, month or 2 months or whatever. Because of germs. So he's a very funny segue into whatever his advice is. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Interesting. I had never, I mean, I don't listen to the tripod. So.
Yeah, and I don't listen anymore. Not much.
Not that I ever did. I've seen like a couple of their video episodes of something at some point in my life. Very far along ago.
Yeah.
This episode is never ending. We're just going to keep talking.
Yeah. We could.
Yeah, no, we go. Let's go. We have a birthday to celebrate.
Yes.
Not to say, es el birthday de la bicha. No sé si
You're not, no.
Es el birthday de la bicha. Hola.
Her birthday.
Soy la bicha.
Yeah.
Hi, she's the
yeah, she's the bicha.
Sorry, this is in English. Oh.
Yes. We talk about you a lot.
Necesito estar más abajo. Y más como aquí. Porque, ahí.
Hi, my name is la bicha.
Not really, but
No,
for the purposes of this podcast.
And it's my birthday, so goodbye.
How old are you?
I'm 18!
She's an adult in Mexico. Sadly, we're
But
in
not
Canada.
here. I can be like clubbing. Like
Clubbing?
Going to clubs and
Drinking.
Drinking. No, not here, because they decided that it's 19. And I'm like, why?
You could go to Alberta and then you'd be...
Alberta is 18?
Yeah.
Let's go to BAM! Celebrate my birthday.
Apparently Alberta is like the white hick sort of part of Canada.
And
Yeah.
Quebec, obviously. It's 18.
Well, you're not there anymore, so.
No. Let's go to Alberta. Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, I guess on that note, we're
Bye-bye.
leaving. So, see you next week.
Thanks for sharing a cup of tea with us.
To watch more episodes of A Cup of Tea, click the link on the right. If you want to watch Pockets in the Universe, go to the playlist on the left.